And then now, see, if you didn't shave your head, would you have hair? Like a full head?
So yeah, my hair still grows. Like the truth is, uh, like the corners right here are weird.
Right,
So,
okay.
so
It would
it's
be little George Jefferson-ish.
yeah. So it starts to do this on the side. I couldn't like I literally like listen. I tell you the truth. It was
I was wondering because you need like don't do that. I wouldn't be your friend.
yeah. No, I literally had this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday where he was asking me like, when did you first do it? I was just like, I remember distinctly when it was. It was February 2009, and I remember that because I was already with Trish then, and Trish was like,
You want to tell the story when I go live? Because I'm going to just keep going rolling.
was that no? It's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I know you. Okay, hold on.
I can tell embarrassing stories about myself. It's fine.
I have no problem with it either. I don't hear you all of a sudden. Oh, hold on. These weekly. Okay, we are live, darling. Now tell now what happened. You were with
we're live, and before we get to anything else, I was telling an embarrassing story about how I decided bald is the way for me. So yeah, no, like the corners right here, like they start to arch up, and which is not okay.
No,
and,
the George Jefferson is just not a look.
I had a real argument with my barber. This was like 10 years ago, like 11 years ago. I had a real argument because I saw where he was trying to line my hair up, and I was like, man, I can't walk out of here with the arch. I can't walk out of here with the arch. I'm not gonna let you do that. So I was like, no, I need you to keep it like this. But you know, fellow Caribbean is a Jamaican barber. He's like, no, man, they don't grow there no more. I'm just like, I know it don't grow there no more, but I need some level. I can't walk out like this. So I was like, you know what? Take it all off. And ever since then, I was fine. But I knew I would be okay because you've heard me mention boarding school on here before. I had shaved all my head off before in high school because there were no black barbers in Connecticut. So I was like, you know, listen, either it was I'm gonna have to figure this out or just buzz cut all of it off. So I was like, I knew if I ever had to go bald, I'd be all right. Like, I'd be all right.
But the reason why I ask you is because of coronavirus and people sheltering in place. I've had all these friends who were bald and they have like full heads of hair. And I always assumed that they were bald because their hair wasn't growing well anymore. Because as you know, I'm older than you. So I just assumed, you know, they weren't bald. They'd have the big, you know, hole there or something like that. So, but I've seen a couple of my friends and they have like a full on like head of hair and they're just bald because it's their fashion choice. So me being rude, you know, I had to ask you the question. Like, is that a fashion choice or a necessity? Your hair growing.
I don't know if it's a delineation between ethnic groups, if you will, but I feel like black men outside of LeBron, because LeBron is fighting for his life.
He is fighting for his life.
But I feel like black guys are more comfortable, at least, just letting it go if need be. I don't know if we have to thank Michael Jordan for that because like he let us know that it could be.
Michael Jordan gave y'all permission.
Yeah, right. So like I think it was all right.
But I just wonder, like, is it a pride thing? Because you know, like women, when we have like extensions or weave or wear a wig, we need to ensure that people know, like, I got plenty of hair under here. Like, I grow my own hair. Like, we have to justify, like, don't think I'm wearing a weave because my hair won't naturally grow.
Right.
And let you know that my hair grows. I just like this different style. So I didn't know if men needed that too.
No, I think, well a hairline is very, very important to us. And I used to, everybody who knew me growing up, I used to have waves, all that stuff. Like, I was the guy with the brush, like every 5 seconds. I wore a do-rag everywhere, all of that stuff too. So like hairline is super important. So the minute that starts to look shaky, it's like, you know what? Like I can't, my pride won't let me go out here with a suspect hairline. and because, you know, because the first thing people's going to know, like even to this day, like I haven't had hair on the top of my head in like I said, like 10 years. And I can still notice when, you know, somebody's hairline's a little bit crooked. There's something going on here, man. Like, and we were talking about LeBron, like LeBron been spray painting this whole middle section of his head for like 5 years now. I was like, bro, it's okay. It's okay. You can let it go.
The bat, it's interesting because people who are like so amazing, you would think wouldn't be tripping off a little shit, like LeBron with his hair. And I remember Oprah, like when she would go on her major diets like every year, and it's like, boo, just be a little round. You are a billionaire. Like you're the most popular known woman in the world. Like it's okay just to have a little roundness to you. But it's like those people who have accomplished everything, they have to have that one thing that annoys them. Like LeBron, no one cares about your hair, bruh.
Just let it go.
Just let it go. And let go. You have accomplished enough where it don't matter.
I actually wrote a. It's funny. I actually wrote a post once about LeBron because I don't know. I think it was last season where whatever little hair piece or something that he had in his hair.
Okay, you had to say hair piece. I'm mad. I'm mad at you.
It was, but it's like it came up. It lifted up a little bit during the game.
No.
And I remember like his teammate Anthony Davis was on the bench and was pointing to him. He was like, "Yo, boy," like, like. And when I saw that, I was just like, "Yo, Bron, you too, like you say, you too rich, man. You don't need to be going through this, man. It's fine." Like,
and I wonder what his wife says. You know, she has to be like, baby, like just let it go, like just. But I think sometimes we get stuff in our own heads, and no matter what somebody else tells us, we just like hold on.
No, that's exactly what it is. Like he's determined to have hair. So until so either science is gonna catch up to him, or he's gonna have to just let it go and forfeit. Like you got to forfeit at some point, my man.
And we all have those things where it's just like everyone I know is like their eyesight is like going now, right? The reading glasses. It's time for reading glasses. And people get to the point where they had like the computer like this. Excuse me, y'all, for getting so close. And I'm like, yo, it's time. But you're waiting up to the last minute because it just confirms that, oh God, I'm really losing it. And it's not just about losing your eyesight. It's like I'm that person. Like I am now my mother or my father or my aunt and shit. Like I'm, getting up and I hear myself, woo, like my mama. I'm getting up from something and making sounds. I'm like, oh my God, my mom used to do that. And I'm like, it's terrifying. The aging process is not for the faint of heart.
Maybe I'm looking at it like glass half full.
No, you're looking at it as someone who's a lot younger than me.
Maybe I'll change my mind when I get. But I know like my wife and I have debates about this all the time. Like if she spots half a gray hair, pull this out ASAP. I'm not dealing with it. And I told her straight. I was like, listen. The minute my beard goes gray, I'm fine with it. Like I'm gonna just have a gray beard. It's fine. Like I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
Okay. But can we? I need Trish right here. But can we talk about that? Regardless, like we talk about racism, let's talk about sexism. Regardless if it's right or wrong, don't you think we women have a different pressure than you guys? Like y'all become finer. Like that salt and pepper is like hot. Like no, seriously. And I feel like have a pressure to always look a certain way.
I hear exactly what you're saying, but at least for me, it's like, hey, Trish, I'm gonna love you regardless whether it's great. And most of the time, not most of the time, literally every single time she's told me you can't see it right there, I can't see it. So, so I don't even know what we're talking about right now.
Men have this arrogance. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure she wants to look gorgeous for you, but we want to look good for ourselves more than anything. So,
I believe.
Men be putting out these posts like, ladies, we don't like those long eyelashes, or we don't like this. I'm like, that comes with the assumption that we women are dressing for you guys. We dress for ourselves and each other. We want our girlfriend to say, girl, you look good. It really is not for the men like people think we do, right? Like, yes, you're always going to love her. Like, that's all, and you're always going to think she's beautiful, but it's how we feel too.
No, that's true. That's true.
Y'all don't care. Y'all just think y'all think y'all look good.
I literally never see it. Like, I literally never see it. I never see what she's talking about until like, no, she really got to dig in. Like,
that's being in love.
Yeah, she got to dig in. Like, no, right there. I was like, I'm lost. I don't know. Like,
beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. So let's talk about the week. Okay, wait. Today is Beyonce's birthday.
Oh, it is.
It is.
Oh.
Only reason I thought of that is because the other night I was sitting on my best friend's deck and we were having a social distancing thing with two other friends, and I asked the question, what music star, I think I've asked you this, do you think 30 years from now we'd still listen to, like our kids and our grandkids would listen to and say, oh yeah, that's back in the day from when my parents were younger? And Beyonce was the one that was the most agreed upon. you know, because what we were listening to old music like, you know, Diana Ross and Earth, Wind and Fire, and you know, we were like, the music is just so good, and we still listen to James Brown and Al Green, even though really it wasn't my necessary generation. We're like, who do we think is going to stand the test of time? And I think Beyonce, regardless of how you feel about her, we will be in the elevator going to my doctor's appointment to get my cataract surgery, and the Beyonce song could be playing in the background. Whereas I don't necessarily think a lot of other, you know, musical artists will be playing.
I mean, it's crazy to look at it from this perspective, but all right, so it's 2020. Black is King just came out about a month or two ago.
Yep.
So if you go back to when she first joined Destiny's Child, you're talking about the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now the 2020s. So it's a bunch of different decades that she's been in. So it's hard not to think that somebody's going to last when they're in every decade.
She's 39 today. So she's got a long time to be still blowing some stuff if she wants to. I mean, you know, she could be blowing.
And to be fair, and listen, and I know, like, I'm only scared of death taxes in the Beehive.
Yeah,
but
I'm trying
to choose my words very carefully. Listen, hey, Beehive, leave me alone, okay? I'm not saying anything crazy.
LC,
all I'm trying to say right now is,
okay, well, I'm nervous. You know,
I feel like she's in a better position now because the last few albums she's released have been freer in the sense that she's not constrained by, especially when like her father was her manager and everything. Like, she was definitely in a box. She was in a box about certain pop songs, R&B songs that you could make. And pretty much when she got liberation from her father, and I only say liberation because she grew up, she took over her career, took over her life. That's when you notice that the music that she was making was freer. And I think that's going to have a more substantial impact in the long run. I mean, of course, she got a bunch of hits. We know all the hit songs, but I also like to judge artists from when they're at their most creative or freest. Because, like, I mean, Stevie Wonder had hits from when he was a kid, but then when he hit the 70s, all the music he was putting out in the 70s was literally just him at his creative peak. And that matters when they have control over their careers, and then you really see what type of artists they are when they have the liberty to just do whatever the hell they want to do for real. Like,
because one, they've made their money, but then I think you grow into your voice. Like, I could not have done this show with you, LC, 5 years ago, even for me. Like, you're more grown ass than me. You're advanced, because even now, I mean, you know, you say things and you know what people want you to say. You know what sounds good. And we're saying a lot of things that people really don't want to hear. We're challenging the system. And so there's always this, you have to feel pretty comfortable with yourself knowing that, you know, people could come after you. Like, you know, I always have these, you know, I'm always waiting to get the sound bite next day. Like, luckily I'm so little, it doesn't matter.
I can't take a ton of credit for that, because that literally comes from therapy and saying a lot of wrong shit. that I had to be held accountable for later. So you choose your words carefully when it's just like, oh, okay, I can see how that was taken very wrong. Okay.
Well, see, you choose your words carefully, but we still talk about stuff that people don't want to talk about, and we say the absolute truth about it, which is what we're about to do right now, because we got to get into the meat. I know I've been like on soft, but like, what's the meat? What you want to bring up about this week? The weeks kind of blur together because it's all cray. But
I touched on it a little bit in a post that I wrote, but I could expound a little bit more. Chadwick's death scared the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. It scared the shit out of me because, like, you know, I just turned 35 last month, right? So he died at 43. They said he had it for 4 years. So then that means he got diagnosed at 39. So I'm looking at it like, so you mean to tell me in 4 years, this could be the start of the end? I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to happen, but it's like, that's how much it touches home. Because first off, I'm not saying he did this at all. There's always the stigma that, you know, black men don't go to the doctor, right? Yes. So Which, I mean, I don't know how much of a stigma it could be if I know plenty of black men who don't go to the doctor.
That's
But
a very real thing. But let's just say that for a long time we couldn't go to doctors. I mean, it annoys me that people just act like shit came out thin air. You know? Okay.
So then there's that, but then it's also, you look at him and see that even the time that you're supposed to go to the doctor to get that type of shit checked out, he was before that too. So it's just like you necessarily couldn't anticipate. I know there's no way that he could anticipate that this was going to happen to him. No. But the most remarkable thing of it all is he literally became a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, he was already famous amongst us, but literally a worldwide phenomenon after being sick.
Right.
Like, he literally became, like, because like, I was telling my wife this yesterday. When you're the star of $1 billion movie, your level of fame is different. It's just different than everybody else. Like, so there's nowhere that he can go where he's not recognized, because it's like you're literally the star of $1 billion movie. Most movies don't crack 100 million, let alone $1 billion. So to know that he put in all that work after being sick, and then to get in the type of shape he even got into after being sick, like, is nothing short of remarkable. Like, it's nothing short of remarkable, and his story is inspiring in the sense that every single person that talked about him had the same story. Like, there was nobody who can come out and say, well, no, I got a different version of Chadwick than anybody. I was like, no, literally everybody said the same positive things about him.
Yeah.
And it's like it's very inspiring to see that somebody didn't just portray a certain image for the cameras, that they really were that way in everyday life to every single person they came in contact with. So it's like, no matter where you go, you talk to the people at the children's hospital, they had the same thing to say about him. People who worked on the set with, they had the same thing to say about him. Ta-Nehisi Coates knew him back in Howard. He had the same thing to say about him. So we're talking about decades upon decades of people saying the same positive things about one person.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he was still able to accomplish as much as he was able to accomplish, kind of just like right under our noses, without, like, we had no fucking clue at all. Like, because when I saw the message, I was like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Like, that's impossible.
It didn't seem real. It's one of those things that you're like checking and rechecking and like, okay, no, wait, they must have got it wrong, or this is some whatever, you know. It really honestly didn't seem real. And it's always amazing when people, kind of like Kobe Bryant, are bigger than themselves, like bigger than a human. Like, the impact is so large, and, you know, what they've meant, particularly to the African-American community. You know, I was so thankful to be able to introduce a superhero that was Black, that looked like my kids to my children, and not just, you know, and it was so, I'll never forget the year that Black Panther came out, and, you know, I saw Halloween costumes and there were white kids who were Black Panther, right? You know, I mean, it just, you know, Asian kids who were Black Panther, and like, you know, we had never really had that. We had our own little inside heroes, but, you know, his impact, you know, there are no words to say, you know, what he seemed to be, you know, the impact he made on this world. It is, but you know what? It's something that was so amazing about him that even with his death, you can tell people are still processing, and I think people are going to be better for it. Like, we're hurt, but we're also, I don't know, there's something just, at least it was like, I don't know, a sense of peace. I don't know how to explain it.
Because I think a lot of the reason for that too is what he was able to accomplish in the short period of time that he was here. Because what I thought was very notable and part of what I ended up writing too was that the characters that we know him for, even outside, of course, like T'Challa was a fictional character, but he always ended up playing positive examples of Black people.
Yeah.
Like, people who had to, in the real life depictions that he did, he showed Black people who accomplished great things and had to persevere to get there. Like, the amount of bullshit Jackie Robinson had to go through in real life Like the amount of bullshit Thurgood Marshall had to go through in real life.
Right.
The amount of bullshit James Brown was responsible for and was inflicted upon him in real life. Like he showed different, totalities of black people. But then even when you go to Black Panther, like, yes, it's a fictional character, but it worked in two ways.
Not fictional, LC.
It worked in two ways. On one hand, it depicted, Black people in a higher light than is typically, given to our roles. Like he even talked about it in his Howard commencement speech, where I think he had to play like thug number 2 or thug number 1 in one of his early, his early acting jobs, which they give that to all, Black actors back in the day. I know Denzel used to talk about the role of the nigga they couldn't kill. Like they always try to pigeonhole you in them type of roles, but he was able to show that it's just like, no, like we come from certain regality or like a certain, stature. But then on top of that, it broke a stigma of anytime you have more than 2 Black people in a movie, they call it a Black movie. And Black Panther was very much a Black movie, but it was also bigger than that. Like it was just a movie that happened to have Black people in it. Like
it transcended race.
Right. And it's just like you can tell these stories without just saying that like, oh yeah, there's 3 Black people in it, so hey man, we gotta have some hood jokes, we gotta have some chicken, you gotta have some watermelon, you gotta get, what I'm saying, we don't gotta do all that, what I'm saying? Like, so I appreciate what he was able to accomplish in such a short period of time.
Yeah, and I one thing you're saying about him only picking certain roles and, when he had the choice to do so and to represent us in a certain light, I don't post any negative, like no one's ever going to see on Randy B, like, some gossipy or something bad that when something goes down with a Black person. And it's so interesting, and I'm segueing into the next topic that I wanted to bring up. It's so interesting that I posted, and I have held back posting for a long time. And I posted an article about Shawn King because he put out a letter the day
died.
The day that Boseman passed away, and he was raising money, right? And it was literally like, and I have, of course, because I'm in this world, I have heard a billion things. You can't be in this world, and people are very a lot of people are very anti him, a lot of people are very pro him, and I just have stayed quiet and not said a word. The only reason I brought it up is because, one, I was personally offended by the letter because I am feeling some kind of way for Boseman. But then once like Newsweek and it's out in the mainstream media, I felt a responsibility because me, a news source. When I tell you, with that article was up for like 30 minutes and people were so mad that I just took it down because I was like, I don't even have the energy because, I'm mourning Boseman to deal with people. And when I post an article, it doesn't mean I feel one way or the other. I feel like we're talking about it. So that brought me to the idea of, because I very much always try to uplift Black people. I was like, I didn't know, and I know he is an advocate for Black people in some of his opinion, but he's not Black, right?
Well, two things. One,
he's not Black. He's not African American. I'm not saying that he doesn't identify with our race and it rolls down with us, but he's not DNA Black, right?
One, I 2 things about that. One, I literally don't know. I've been trying to figure out Shawn King for years. I don't know. He's confusing. Like he's actually confusing. But number 2, this goes back to something I said last week about, we all study Venn diagrams in school where there's overlap here. 2 things can be true at once. And here's the 2 things that I feel about Shawn King that are simultaneously true.
Yeah.
1, he does bring awareness to issues that are important.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times there are stories out there that might not have gotten any shine or seen the light of day if he didn't post about them. I don't care about people's feelings. I don't care about people's feelings. That is a fact.
That is a fact.
On the other hand, I don't know how many different people you need to hear say that this homeboy be misappropriating money. Like, like there's multiple stories of him doing some shady things in regards to the fundraising. That has been a knock on him ever since he's been on the scene, and it's been a knock every single place he ends up going. I heard it in Ferguson. I heard, there's literally an entire, I forgot what it was, because I wrote about this around the time when DeRay wrote that entire piece about him, which I know people have their own issues with DeRay too, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert about anything.
I don't know any of these people personally.
Right. But then it's like,
take advantage of black people, I got a problem.
But then they were like, I forgot what this was, but he was quoting how much he raised for something. I forgot what initiative it was. But then when somebody broke down the actual money, it included money from like this Facebook GoFundMe or something that he didn't even set up. So it's like, how did you include that money in your fundraising if you didn't even start this GoFundMe? But listen, that's neither here nor there. But like I said, it's like both things can be correct at once, and he's an interesting case study, if you will, because like I said before, I wouldn't want to remove him permanently because he has brought light to certain issues that need to be discussed. But on the other hand, I wish somebody would just don't give him no more money. Like I don't know. Like just like,
can he do what he does and not take money? I mean, I just don't want
invoking Chadwick's name.
I thought it was not Chadwick's name. I was upset about that. And I just want to protect my people. Like I have had, I'm the one who has, great older people in my family. They give money and they're always like, churches be asking for something to save, give salvation. And I don't like people to take advantage of
the building fund, the church building fund.
Yes. And so, so that's all I was putting out there. I don't know what's wrong or right. And someone said, oh, you're just hating. I'm like, I don't make Mary a dime. I'm not, again, I post everybody's articles on my page, as you know. There's not a bit of hate. I want success for everybody.
But I think it begs the question, though, because I know, like, I understand, like, without even seeing it, I could understand the response that you got.
They were mad as hell at me.
But my thing is, do people want to be honest or comfortable?
I'm still that, LC. Do you want to be honest or comfortable?
Because you can be comfortable and just turn a blind eye to things that you don't want to have to deal with. But on the same token, just because you decide to turn a blind eye to it doesn't make the reality any less real. Because like I said, it's not, if it was one person that said he's done shady things with money, you can chalk that up to maybe somebody had a bad experience with him and et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, no, it's literally been multiple different situations where people ultimately say the money didn't end up going to where he said it was going to go.
Right.
But that, like I said, that can be true. And it also be true that he sheds light on situations that need shedding light on.
He does. But I mean, and my thing is like, if you're good, if you have no issues, people are going to say stuff about you, right? Like the more you put yourself out there, my little teeny itty bitty butt who doesn't have 1/100th the followers or people as Shawn King, and not trying to compete with him just so people know, because one, we need a bunch of us trying to advocate and work towards helping Black people, but you still just understand that you're going to be called into question. I mean, it's freaking part of it. I mean, once you put, like, a person who, if you put a picture on Facebook, even if you have 50 followers, 10 of them are talking about you. I don't know why she wear the hair like that. I mean, we all are up. So the more you put yourself out there, you just have to understand that you're going to be questioned. So I'm shocked that he becomes so incredibly sometimes, because he's had to, like, he's like, I'm hiring lawyers, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like, there's just usually not this much smoke around people doing this kind of work. And there's a lot of people doing his kind of work.
And all this, I'm going to get lawyer stuff. Has anybody actually been sued? So,
no.
So
it's just been talk. So bring up for the week. It was just like an interesting, segue into that. But listen, people, I really, truly, there's not many people in the world that I am after or really care one, screw about. I want to get that man out of the White House. I care about that. Outside of that, I really ain't sweating people too much. I'm kind of like a loving soul most of the time. till you cross me. So what else is on your mind? What's going on? What else is happening?
No, you said getting the guy out the White House is it's funny because obviously being in New York, he has a personal vendetta against Governor Cuomo. So Trump is out here trying to take money away from New York that we use to like clean trains and shit. I'm like, why?
Because he's ruthless. He's ruthless. Let me ask you a question about this, since we're going to bring him up. I've had this question because they've been talking about like poll numbers changed after the RNC. Do you believe that there is a such thing as people being undecided right now? Like, how the hell do you have such different candidates? I mean, like, or is it fake? I mean, or do people who are saying they're undecided, do they just want attention? I'm saying, like, I'm feeling like they just want us to like talk to them and gear to, because how could you be undecided? Like, I can respect if you like Trump's my dude. I mean, I don't respect it, but I can respect that you have your opinion. But someone saying they're undecided, I can even appreciate the people, although it annoys me, who say they're not gonna vote. But undecided, like you're really looking at the qualifications and where they stand on issues and trying to figure out who you're gonna go with. Come on.
Two things. One, they're lying. Two,
Thank you.
Two, at this point, I don't understand people who subscribe to polls, because the 2016 election showed us that polls are bullshit. You know why? Because everybody said they were voting for Hillary.
Oh, that's a sore spot with me.
Everybody said they were voting for Hillary. And then, because that means a lot of people were lying about where their intentions really were going and what they were really going to do. Because here's the thing. When it came to Trump 4 years ago, the idea of him was such a novelty that I don't think people wanted to say out loud that they were seriously considering it. But when he actually won, that's when people came out the woodworks and he was like, yeah, Trump, yeah, I supported Trump. There's a lot of people who wouldn't even dare to say that before he actually won, because it was kind of like a novelty idea. But then it's like, oh shit, this worked. Now I can be honest and say that this is where I really wanted to go to the whole time. So I feel like a lot of these people who are undecided, when you say, maybe this is my feeling, just my feeling, I could be absolutely wrong. At this point in time, when people say they're undecided, I take that as you're voting for Trump. The reason why I say that is because you know the vitriol that people get when they say that. So you don't want to receive that type of backlash. So you just say that I'm undecided. But in reality, you knew you were voting for Trump this entire time. The same way y'all knew y'all were voting for Trump the last time when you lied to the polls and said that you were voting for Hillary.
Right, because
I don't trust polls. I don't trust undecided. I don't trust any of that.
I just thought it was just me. Because like my thing is like, how can you, like, how, like, as like a meme I put up this week, like, how could we be debating racism? Like, if someone who is clearly racist and sexist and shit, just, I hate people this.
What's her name?
Why are you debating if you could support that person? I mean, it's like.
I'm blanking on this woman's name. I don't know if it's Alice, if it's Angie, but it was somebody who was supposed to speak at the RNC, who actually, I think, has an adopted black son.
I saw that.
And
I posted about it.
Yeah, she basically said that she understands why her black son would be profiled over her white kids, because he's more predisposed to crimes. All right, that's not even the part that I wanted to talk about. Here's how delusional people are. Because you said, how can we still be debating racism? This same woman has a friend, a self-admitted racist, her friend is. I don't know if the person's alive. She still came out and said that person's not racist. They admitted they're racist.
They said they racist, right?
I don't. What more denial do you need when the person themselves said, yeah, I'm that. I'm that. But then you still say, no, that person's not racist. That's how much people are willing to deny the things that are in front of them. Somebody could literally be a self-described racist and they'll still be like, no.
I mean, it's like Trump, where like the KKK, the Aryan Nation, all those things are like, you're our guy. We're so proud of you. Thank you so much. And he's like, no, I'm not a racist. I'm like, no, the racists say that not only are you a racist, but you're like, they're applauding your racist behavior and guiding them. Like, you're not just a racist, you're like a king racist. Like, they're proud of you.
I've mentioned this on I mentioned this on our videos before. It's like, if somebody, like I think I use this exact example. If somebody was out there drunk driving all the time, if all the drunk drivers and the DUI people came out and said, "Man, LC's my man," I had to stop and think, why do all the DUI people like me? Like, you know, like it's how many racist people have to support you before you look at yourself?
Right.
And that's the thing too, is that, okay, you guys support Trump or whatever, but it's like that doesn't irk you at all. Like that doesn't bother you at all. That a bunch of admitted, like, we're talking about people like you mentioned, David Duke. We're talking about people like Richard Spencer, which, speaking of another uncomfortable conversation, Richard Spencer came out and said he's voting for Joe Biden. I don't know. Just throw the country away. Just throw it away.
Turn it off and turn.
Where's the America reset button? Let's reset and start over.
Right?
Reboot. We need a reboot. Like, I don't know.
Okay, and then I also wanted to ask you about protests, because I think what people are surprised about, and I really hope people are paying attention, is that I think they thought, you know, after the George Floyd murder, and we were all protesting together, of all races and ages. Everybody's protesting. I think they thought, okay, things will calm down and the folks will go back to being the folks. And it hasn't calmed down. You know, we still get fired up every time something happens. And so, I mean, what do you think that this should be saying to America? Like, you know, when I'm talking to people, I'm like, I don't think this is going away anytime soon. I think that something has shifted, and regardless if people liked Obama or didn't like him, you know, whatever, I think seeing a black man run this country for 8 years, and not just him, but all the people he had surrounding him, like Holder and people, where they saw people empowered. Those generations now are at the age where they can vote and are way more accepting regardless of their races. And I think people are not in the mood to tolerate a whole bunch of racism, sexism, and bullshit. Like, right now, people, it's not gonna just be easy. And so my thing is like, you can be racist and sexist and homophobic and all that stuff, but it ain't gonna be easy for you. Like, understand the commitment you are making. Before, racism used to be kind of easier, right? You could just be racist and do some shit and get away with it, and it'd be kind of fun. What I like the message I think that we're sending to the world right now is, it ain't gonna be as easy as it used to be. So be ready to take on this battle. And I don't think that's gonna change anytime soon. I think people have shifted, but I want to know what you thought.
It's definitely not going to change anytime soon, because look, Jacob, with Jacob Blake and everything that happened in Wisconsin, immediately, it skipped level 5, went immediately to level 10.
Right.
But that's because it's coming on the heels of everything else. So it's like, when you look at how many cities started protesting after George Floyd, it's not like people just went home and forgot about everything. Like, no, like, I'm pretty sure people in Wisconsin were pissed off back then too.
Right.
But then now you turn around and then this happens to Jacob Blake, there's that. And then you got so many, like, the amount of people supporting White Boy Blue Lives Matter MAGA Man is mind-blowing. The amount of people that are supporting him. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But then it's not going to die anytime soon. And honestly, after situations like the murders that happened in Wisconsin, like, people talk about, like, race wars, but I don't even think it's necessarily just race wars, because it's not just solely black people out here protesting, but it's like,
it's just race wars.
It's protesters versus authority figures versus the detractors. It's three sides all clashing with each other at once, and it's happening continuously in multiple cities. It's like,
absolutely.
And blood is shedding now.
Oh, blood is shedding. I mean, it's shedding.
What like?
But you know what, though? When you take so much from people, when you take so many rights from people, you put them in a corner where they have nothing to lose. You know, at one time, I think people was like, well, I'm just so happy to have this. I'm going to just play it cool. I'm going to let it pass. You'd be so horrible to people. And the way that I think America has treated everybody, people with disabilities. I mean, you know, Trump was up there making fun of them. The way they have treated everybody, if they're not white and male and hates everybody else, the way people have been treated, I think they're like, I don't give a damn. I am ready to go down. You know, people are walking out of high-powered, high-paying jobs. People are saying, look, this needs to be different in order for us to go on. Like, I think that, you know, too much has been taken. People are fed up people are past fed up is what I'm sensing.
Because I think the when they say the veil has been lifted, like before the last 4 years, people lived in a fallacy. Like when people throw around phrases like post-racial America, that was a thing. Hey, people, post-racial America was a thing. It was never a thing, but it was a thing, right? So I think people were more comfortable just playing along with the day-to-day because it's like, yeah, everything's fine. Like things aren't perfect, but everything is cool, it's collected and yada, yada, yada. But then you realize, no, it's all that was bullshit. Nothing was really cool. The veil has been lifted. We know that there's no acceptance underneath that layer. So then it's like, what are we trying to protect? No, fuck it. Burn it all down. Fuck it. Like it's not like we're not gonna go back and pretend that things are as beautiful as people like to think they are.
That's the thing. I think that is one thing we have to stress is that the veil has been lifted, but we were underneath that veil, mad as hell and frustrated as hell. We were faking it. We were faking that we were okay. So people think, oh, and I know I keep saying it, but I really don't think that the majority crowd is getting this, is that George Floyd, we were angry, long and frustrated. We lie. And, you know, people will get on my page. Today I had a woman saying to me, well, we're not having any issues with racism. You know, our next door neighbors are Black and they play with us and we're great. And I'm like, let me tell you something. I can almost guarantee you that those Black kids or those Black parents have been disturbed by something you've said, because typically you guys are not culturally educated. You don't know much about us because one, we don't let you, and two, you don't care. So, but they're just letting it, they're just sweeping it under the rug as we do. Like we talk amongst ourselves, like, let me tell you this bullshit somebody said to me, but we don't say nothing to the people.
You know what though? If somebody was in the comment, then I hope that person, they're probably not, but I hope that person is watching this. You know how dumb that argument is? Let me tell you how dumb that argument is. I'm gonna give you an analogy and just show you how dumb that analogy is. Nobody broke a leg in my house, so breaking legs must not be real. What? No, that happened in your house. What the fuck does that have to do with every other house?
Well, no, but no. Let me give you another comparison. Because I'm usually talking to the executives of companies, right? They're like, well, we're good over here. Like, we're not really having any issues. So you think that your employees are just walking in your door and saying, this place is fucked up, like it is so whack, I'm unhappy? Like, how many people tell their bosses how they're really feeling on day to day? Most of us don't, because there's a power construct there. So just because your Black neighbors and your kids play together and they're having a great time does not mean that the Black people are not thinking that you're somewhat racist or say some dumb shit. Trust me, like, Black people do not speak up when we're annoyed. And I can tell you that in most instances, we do get annoyed somehow because you guys don't know us like we know you. We were trained to get along with you. You have no idea. So you think when you're telling someone, oh, you're not really Black, or, you know, you don't act Black, or all the dumb shit that comes out of people's mouths because they're not informed, right? That we're not offended. No, we just don't say nothing. We talk about you behind your backs. That's what we do. When you see Black people gathering together, we are talking about y'all behind your back.
It's funny you mentioned.
Okay, they said this to me.
It's funny you mentioned jobs, because I remember at an old job of mine, I was on the employee survey committee, and so we were putting together the yearly employee survey. And we're just interviewing people just to see what type of questions to ask on the survey. Like, this one guy says, like, hey, man, I just do enough to not get fired. It sucks here. Like, and it's basically just like, yeah, no, That's the like. No person is going to go into their office and say, "Hey, boss, man, I'm just doing the bare minimum, so you won't fire me." Nobody's going to say that. Like, that's not how these conversations go. So, of course, like, so you don't personally. It's once again, it always goes back to this idea of empathy. People really believe that if something is not directly happening to them, or to somebody they know, or to somebody they've come across, then it must be, irrelevant or something that's not happening.
Well, people are not speaking up about it.
You aren't the center of the universe.
Right.
You aren't the center of the universe. Your life experience is not everybody's life experience, which is why, like, I never understand when, like, for example, I saw this message yesterday where this white woman said, "Why don't you guys understand that if you don't do anything wrong, cops won't bother you?"
Oh God, don't make me upset.
And then somebody wrote in response. Somebody wrote in response, "Breonna Taylor was sleeping." Like,
right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
Like, you're just talking to make words come out.
Oh like, my God, we still didn't even talk about how that brother spoke up and said that they tried to get the whole Breonna thing framed. Like, the level of just I don't even, what's the word? Corruption. The level of corruption that is so obvious is sick. I don't even know. It's I don't even know. Like, we haven't even talked about that. Like,
it's bad. It's not bad enough that you went into a house after you apprehended the guy that you wanted. It's not bad enough that you killed a woman after I think she was shot 8 times, shot at 20 times. It's not bad enough that you first arrested her boyfriend for trying to protect his house. It's not bad enough. That's not enough. You also need to throw dirt on her name.
Yeah. And asking
it happens all the time because you need to make black people look like terrible people just so you can go about your life and justify all the fucked up things that you do. And it's like, we already know that you're not going to bring any charges against these officers. Like, I mean, I hate to break it to people out there. Like, unless some miracle happens and Daniel Cameron, I remembered your name now, Attorney General. It would be some miracle if Daniel Cameron decides that, hey, I'm going to do my job. But don't expect that to happen. You could have just left it bad enough by doing nothing. But they couldn't just do nothing. They have to then, on top of that, spit on this woman's grave. But once again, people wonder why we're mad. And you were talking about the protest earlier. Here's the thing, because once again, it's another picture I saw recently. Somebody found a news clip from 1967, Martin Luther King, where it was a picture of him looking fatter than he was in real life, but okay. And then the headline was, "I'm going to lead another nonviolent protest tomorrow." And then in the background, you saw like a bunch of fire in the street, cars flipped over, et cetera, basically making fun of the way Martin Luther King protests. Fast forward to 2020, they like to throw Martin Luther King's name in our faces anytime they try to denounce the way we protest. Once again, you guys didn't like the way he protests back in the 60s, and you shot him.
Yeah, yes, and you shot him.
So stop telling us how to protest, because it doesn't matter. You don't like it any way we do it.
Well,
because I heard people for eons tell me that Colin Kaepernick was disrespecting the troops by taking the knee, which a veteran told him to do, but I ain't heard not a soul say anything about the fact that Donald Trump basically called the troops stupid yesterday just for being troops.
He sure did.
He said John McCain, people forgot on the campaign trail, he said John McCain wasn't a hero because he got captured.
Right.
But y'all want to talk about a man disrespecting the troops.
Well, that's because people are truly fighting for whiteness, and I just think that we need to own that.
And mind you, Colin Kaepernick wasn't in nobody's streets doing nothing. He was on the sidelines.
Well, but
it pissed off too.
What we were just talking about, as far as people are shocked that we're mad about racism, but when we talk about racism, they get mad, and so we don't talk about it. We talk about it amongst ourselves. So they're seeming so shocked. But, you know, we can't go to our bosses, we don't feel, until recently, and say, you know what, this environment feels toxic, or I don't feel like I have a voice. We haven't felt as if we can do that. So they really are under the impression that people are happy. And I'm like, most people are not. Just assume that you have a problem and stop, I want people to, burst that bubble and be honest in the fact that if they have diversity in their companies, then there's some people who are most likely unhappy, and so they need to work on it. Ain't no bullshit, because we've been threatened about talking. Every time somebody talks about racism, even in the most polite of ways, the appropriate of ways, they usually are dealt with negatively.
Yeah, I just saw Charlamagne the God trying to raise money for that black cop who got fired because he spoke up. He was just like, oh, but Blue Lives Matter, guys.
Oh, Blue Lives and NRA become mute when it's a black person. All of a sudden, their things come mute. But I'm going to let you go. It has been always a pleasure. You know, you always make me think, calm me down, and you get me fired up at the same time.
Especially these days, there's always something to be fired up about.
And there's always something to be fired up. But, we have our medicine.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday.
Absolutely. Yeah. God willing. Yes, sir.
God willing, we'll see you next Friday. All right. You be safe.
Peace.
Take it in peace.